Everything happening in and around Central Virginia that used to be in the morning paper? Start your day at the lynchburgportal.com. Get the latest news updates from Bill Trevero, plus up-to-date weather from VTRN's own in-house meteorologist, Matt Ferguson. So you're always in the know before you head out the door. Want to listen on the go? Stream classic hits on Rewind 103.9. Get breaking local news on WIQO, or catch the best sports talk and play-by-play on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, all right from the portal. Looking to save? Check out insane radio deals for great local discounts, or explore local podcasts featuring the voices and stories that make our community special. Plus, connect with local businesses through the Lynchburg Business Alliance directory and stay in the loop on the latest events from Lynchburg Tourism. It's all right here. Local news, weather, sports, deals, and more at the lynchburgportal.com. Your gateway to everything Lynchburg. You're listening to WVGM AM and FM Lynchburg, now powered by ESPN Radio and streaming at VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com.
Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your trusted dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and now Buick. Plus, the used car superstore. 12 new car brands, 900 used vehicles. One amazing buying experience. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. The Sheeler Motor Mile, now in Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Looking for the perfect start to your day or an afternoon pick-me-up? Swing by Buttercup and Friends Cafe, your friendly Boonesboro Road food truck. From craft lattes with house-made simple syrups to sweet treats and comforting bites, there's something for you. It's the perfect spot to grab something delicious and bring a friend, your appetite, and come see why people are coming back to Buttercup and Friends Cafe, 6103 Boonesboro Road, across from the BP gas station in Lynchburg. Open 7:30 to 3:30 Monday through Saturday.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts, or go to bartlett.com.
What do high-performing athletes have in common? They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. The best competitors have a strong mental support system that keeps them focused, confident, and at the top of their game. Want that same support in your own life? Central Virginia Counseling can help. No matter what life throws your way, our team is here for you, with 2 Lynchburg locations on Wigington Road and Timberlake Road, and telehealth available anywhere in Virginia. Take the first step today. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real technology so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
All right, I don't know if we're even going to call this a detour because we've already taken detours and we warned you about this at Fastlane Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram with the TrostLaw.com Fast Take that was done earlier today. But I was driving back from Richmond. If you happen to have an animal with eye issues, you know the deal. You have to go to Richmond. It's actually Huguenot. It's like southwest of Richmond, so it's not quite 2 hours. But you have to go that way, and the quickest way is to go from 460 to 24 over to Route 60. And Route 60 is not a very friendly road for any type of situation which might cause you to have to swerve. There's not really any shoulder room on that stretch. I don't even know how you would expand the road to include it because there are a lot of, gullies, drop-offs, things of that nature. So I'm driving down the road, and by the grace of the good Lord, my brakes were working. Maybe it's because I took my Chevy Tahoe to Apple Chevrolet of Alta Vista a couple of weeks ago and got the once-over check when I got my most recent oil change. But I slammed on the brakes, swerved on the side, and there was a car in front of me. And I'm wondering what's going on. And at first I thought it's a deer. And I'm like, I know it's bad. I know nobody wants the car damage from hitting a deer. Then I looked, and it was the same color, but there was more black, and it turned out to be a German Shepherd. And the car that almost hit the dog kept going on. The dog's in the road. It is right when you crest over the top of a hill that you then come down, and it's kind of this rolling type of terrain. I'm moving my hands up and down for those watching at VTR and Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. And I am trying to run after the dog, to get it out of the road, something. I am praying the entire time and trying to hold back the potential for tears. I obviously love dogs enough that I took mine on a 2-hour each-way trip. And I'm just praying to God, please don't let this dog get hit. If it's in his will that it gets hit, I get it. But I'm praying it doesn't. And prayer answered. Thank the good Lord that it was. I pray that dog stays safe. But it got me thinking about things that are responsible for pet ownership. Because I'm really worried about the dog and about dogs in general when I see them out there in this situation. And, I mean, if you're looking down at your phone, you could have hit the car in front of you, or you could have hit the dog. If you're driving down the road trying to avoid the dog, you could have hit another car. All of these are things that could unfortunately prompt somebody to have to call Trost Law because there's been an accident and it could have been avoided. And it's not just the people on the road. I'm not one to be able to determine who's at fault in this situation. That's what Trost Law and their decades worth of expertise are skilled at doing. They have
not one, not two, not three, not four,
but over 4 decades since 1982. I'm sure they've heard and seen a lot of stories. We haven't covered pets. I honestly don't want to know about it, but it is what it is. So it got me thinking about things that you can do as a responsible pet parent to avoid this scenario, because you never know when you're driving down the road or when you're out and about and something might pop up and you need your full attention on the road. And I get this isn't sports, but I love pets. If you love pets, you will appreciate it. If not, let one into your life and it could change the way you view things. TJ, are you a dog person, a cat person? I know Trey's a dog person. Hokey comes in regularly. Are you a pet person?
Yes, I have a dog with Brenda.
You do?
Kodiak.
I like it. Is it a black dog, by the way?
Yeah, it's a black lab mix.
I mean, it should be with the name Kodiak. It's kind of appropriate. So there are things that are responsible for pet ownership. And there are a couple that really strike me. One is have your pet spayed or neutered, unless you're a certified, golden retriever breeder, or insert your doodle snooty patootie dog. Sorry, I'm going to get in trouble, but I am saying that here in the fast lane. If you're going for a purebred in that, I get it. But for anybody else, get the dog spayed and neutered. I mean, come on. I don't like the idea, well, what would happen if aliens... Dude, it's not aliens coming down, dogs viewing us. God put us on this earth to have dominion over animals. And it doesn't mean go all Michael Vick and Bad News Kennels and abuse animals. But it does mean to be responsible. And part of being responsible is we don't need to be spreading the love, so to speak, with more animals on this earth. I am all for procreating for families and growing and trying to raise them the responsible way. But that does not have to include dogs and cats. Get them spayed or neutered. When you adopt, there's a reason why, by and large, most shelters and most organizations do everything in their power to make sure that expense is covered. If you're on the other side of this, just look at it this way. All of them can't be wrong, and you're right. Second of all, for pet responsibility, if you live in a high traffic area, I don't care how smart you think your dog is. have the dog on a leash if you're outside, or have a fenced in area, whether it's invisible or legitimate fencing. I'd tell you to call somebody if we had the right sponsor, but I don't. So we'll just say, do your research. That's what Google's for. But get your dog a leash and fenced in, because all it takes is that dog's instinct kicks in and it sees a squirrel, a deer, a cat, a piece of food, anything. And the dog runs out into the road. And guess what? That dog does not think about the potential that it might get crushed, the potential that it running out in the road might cause somebody else to swerve, might create an accident. And there's going to be a lot of people that have to call our friends at Trost Law at 777-HERDS, or even on the scene, they can look it up on their phones since they won't be driving at trostlaw.com. And the third one, and this is my biggest pet peeve, by the way, don't let the dog be in your lap. I saw it again today. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is, TJ, to see people with the dog on their lap. Like, this prompts the question from our friends, the Three Stooges.
Are you that dumb?
Because if you do have the dog on your lap, the answer is most definitely yes, too.
Are you that dumb?
Because it's absurd. Think of it this way. First of all, if something runs out into the road, again, and you have to swerve, and cute little pooch is in your lap, how effective are you going to be with it? And I get it. Maybe somebody else's pet. It may be a deer. God knows there are tons of them around here. There are plenty of deer that are all around. How's your reaction time going to be when you have to try to maneuver and cute little pooch is in your lap because you just couldn't resist? It's ridiculous. Oh, by the way, if you end up getting into an accident and cute little pooch is in the lap, guess what could happen? The airbag could be deployed. How's that neck of the dog going to handle the airbag crushing into it? I know I'm getting morbid for a second, but we can avoid that by just keeping the dog in the back. Like, oh, I just couldn't resist. You're the pet parent. Your responsibility is to resist the temptation to your dog. If not, you are being an irresponsible pet parent. And in the worst case scenario, that cute little pooch is in your lap and it's a hard collision. What happens if that dog goes flailing out one of the windows? How do you think it's going to handle it? Probably not very well. So let's just look at this with a level of common sense here, TJ. I can be totally off base. Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Don't at TJ, I'm the one coming out with this. But I was on the road today. I managed to swerve to avoid a dog on Route 60. By the grace of God, I found room on the very non-existent shoulders to get off the road and not get into the gully and managed to get back out. And by the grace of God, the dog didn't get hit. It went up the hill, and thank God there was no traffic, and the dog turned left back towards its home, and I pray the dog is safe right now. But this can all be avoided with responsible pet parenting. So a little overview for you here. Pet parenting tips of the day, if you will. Get your pet spayed or neutered. Second of all, make sure you've got fencing and a leash if you're in a high traffic area. Your dog may be the most gifted, brilliant dog out there. My sister, I know I'm not on great terms, but she thought her dog was so smart that the dog was at the house with her and went back to where she was a moment ago. Like, it's the height of stupidity. But, I don't care how smart you think your dog is. And by the way, the dog crossed Rivermont Avenue traffic. It wasn't very bright for this. All it takes is some level of ridiculousness for the dog. The dog does not think like a rational human being, except in Memphis, where the people don't look both ways, but the dogs actually do. That's the only place in the world I've seen it. Everywhere else, it operates differently. And don't let the dog be in your lap when you're driving. Come on, be a responsible parent. If it's so cute, then make sure it can stay cute because it's not in your lap and something doesn't happen that's horrific that compromises the life of the dog or, God forbid, other people as well. All of that presented by our friends at Trost Law, who remind you responsible pet ownership is a good thing, but responsible driving entails, in some cases, responsible pet ownership. By the way, am I off base, TJ, or do I at least bring up some level of valid points that people can hopefully agree or disagree at Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram?
No, I agree. People can be very careless as dog owners. You unfortunately see it all the time, and it's why pit bulls get such a bad rap.
They're not bad dogs.
They're not.
Like, it's bad people around bad dogs.
Right.
And I get it, but, my wife's daughter's got a part pit bull. The thing is much sweeter than some of our dogs who are not pit bull mix. Trey's dog, I think, is part pit bull. I can't honestly tell, but it looks like it's got some in it. So, again, I'm not an expert here. If you're an insurance adjuster that's in charge of, where Trey is, that's your thing. I honestly don't know, but I can say this myself. I don't know, but I look at it and I'm like, okay, I see it. That dog is sweet. The dog may not be the sharpest dog in the room, Hokey, but Hokey is a sweet dog. Hokey is harmless. Not very bright up here in the head, but Hokey is a smart dog. A sweet dog. Smart, maybe not. But you're right. I mean, there's certain reputations, and there's certain things you can do if you're a pet parent. The moment, like when you and Brenda brought the pet into your life, did you guys adopt, by the way?
Oh, no. Brenda had the dog before she
Okay.
part of
So, you're marrying Brenda, you're marrying with that dog.
Exactly. But I love the dog.
If you're going to take Brenda, you got to take the dog.
Absolutely.
Brenda said, TJ, it's either the dog or me.
Right.
But, we're taking the dog.
Right.
Well, I got that wrong. TJ, you're taking me, but you're taking the dog with me.
Exactly.
Or it's none of us or both of us. But anyway, it's part of responsible pet ownership. So off that tangent, I'm not going to do the detour soundbite because we warned you at Fastlane, Edlane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. College basketball tonight. Not a big slate on a national level, but Liberty they play and Virginia women's basketball they play. I think the two things just to worth note. For Virginia women's basketball, they come off the victory against Louisville, 74-72 this past Sunday, which is a huge win for Virginia. I think they're in a good spot for the tournament. That road win can do wonders for the metrics. But I'd feel a lot better if I could beat a top 25 team in Carolina at home tonight at JPJ. What version of Virginia do you get? If you get that one, I'm not going to go all Dickie V when Virginia Tech beat Duke years ago. Oh, they're in the tournament. And then they lost 3 games in typical Seth Greenberg fashion, choking down the stretch and missed the big dance. But for Virginia, I would like to see them build off of that. First of all, showing up, but I think it'd be great if they got a win tonight. And that could really solidify their resume because I do put a lot of stock in this, TJ, and I've said this often. If you get big wins later in the year, I do think it should count for more because the pressure is higher and you need to get victories or you can't afford to lose. And if you perform well down the stretch, and I think it's more impressive now than ever before because the transfer portal means it takes rosters longer to gel and come together.
No, I think that's perfect. And I think UVA women's basketball has been a great mix in between. And I think getting a big win over Carolina tonight, I think should seal them. That's a huge win for them. And especially if they do well in the ACC tournament. I think UVA could be one of those Cinderella teams. And I know it's a Power 4 school, not what we consider Cinderella, but they're so underlooked that I consider them a Cinderella team that can do damage. And we don't get to see Cinderella teams do damage in women's basketball that much because you've got your high powerhouses that always do well. But I think this team's different.
I would agree with that. And it's, the top is the top. The Cinderella in women's college basketball, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to top like UConn or UCLA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're both really good this year. And if you're in the bracket with them, I think Cinderella means advance as far as you can until you run into them.
Exactly. Or South Carolina.
Or South Carolina. Again, I think it's a great point to put South Carolina in that. They're the 3 consistent teams. Texas is probably up there too. But if you're in that category, then Cinderella means go as far as you can until you run into them. Because when you run into them, you're probably not going to get far. But I think it'd be great for Virginia women's basketball. And they've started to announce themselves. And it feels like, they've performed well. But the win tonight also, there's something aesthetic about getting to the 20-win mark there at 19-8 on the season.
Yeah, a win over Louisville. And I know Notre Dame isn't as great as they usually are, but they've still got Anna Stocking, one of the best basketball players in the nation, in my opinion, under Coach Ivy. And they beat Notre Dame. They've beaten Louisville with Zach Randolph's daughter, who is a great player in herself. I just think UVA getting a big win over Carolina, how can you not put them?
I agree. I don't, with a loss tonight, I don't think it precludes Virginia from being a tournament team. I don't think it guarantees, but I think they are more than likely in with the win tonight.
I would bet UVA women gets in the tournament before I bet Virginia Tech men's basketball.
I think it's reasonable because right now you can also look at the quality wins that they have. And for Virginia Tech men's basketball, what's their quality win? Virginia at home at the beginning of ACC play in triple overtime, which again, that's a good win.
Clemson win on the road, maybe, but
yeah. And I know Florida State's played well, but the loss at Florida State, they're not fully leaking oil, but they're not as formidable as they were a month ago.
I mean, if VT somehow wins in the Dean Dome with the Caleb Wilson-less Carolina, can you still give them their big props? And I will say this. They released a list of the 8 teams fighting for an at-large bid. Virginia Tech was one of them. I would say Ohio State, who was on that list, who UVA beat. I want Ohio State in because they proved they can compete with the big dogs, because I truly think UVA men's basketball will make a massive run this year in both the ACC tournament, because they'll already be in the top 4, but in the NCAA tournament. And I think if VT beats Carolina, this gives them the perfect resume.
Yes, I would say that's the case as well. And so it's not a resume. Again, Virginia win. It's not a resume crusher is the phrase I was going to say. I think you're about right. It about clinches Virginia in the tournament if they win in women's basketball tonight against Carolina. You'll have the top 10 road win at Louisville and a top 25 win against Carolina at home late in the year. At that point, just hold serve against the lower level teams that you might face from the remainder of the regular season and also into the ACC women's basketball tournament, which begins next week as well. So just put all that into the right scope, because they play Virginia Tech this coming Saturday and Virginia Tech, or this coming Sunday, the Lady Hoos and the Lady Hokies. For Liberty tonight, going on the road, I think the obvious thing, I know I'm going to shatter some news here. What do you want to see out of the Flames? Here's number one, a win. Yeah. It's not a guarantee. Kennesaw is a tough opponent. Liberty's a 1.5 to 2 point favorite, depending on where you look. It feels a little short, but it is a road game. If it was Simeon Cottle on the floor, I'd feel better about this. But I'll look, hat tip for Kennesaw. They played remarkably well since his departure, given that Cottle was in line to be, I would say, even almost the undisputed leader when it comes to Conference USA. They're still a tricky team at 16-11 this year. They're 4th in the standings for Conference USA basketball. By and large, even their losses over the last couple of weeks, Jack State, Sam Houston, they've been close losses, but they're in a lot of close games.
They've beaten Western Kentucky twice.
They have. They've beaten Missouri State on the road. They've beaten Louisiana Tech on the road as well. They're your typical Conference USA team that is a formidable opponent.
Want to know how you can prove Liberty will be tournament ready, Ed? I think with this game being tonight, Saturday's game at Jacksonville State, both of these teams are aggressive on the road. This will prove if Liberty's ready for the big shots.
I would say that as well. And number one, just get the victory. I'm not predicting big margins for Liberty, but the things I'd like to see, and John Manson kind of touched on this yesterday, one of them is you got to defend better. I mean, giving up 94 points and 48 in the first. I mean, you got to have to find a way to perform better on that end. And if there's I'd say a reasonable criticism, it's when the shots don't fall, especially from deep, it can snowball for the Flames into the other team. And I'm not a basketball savant enough to know whether that's just because it creates deeper transition. But theoretically, Liberty has, with not being a tall team, they're very athletic. They should be able to get back and limit transition points in that scenario and then lock down. And if you have to turn it into a grind it game, I'm fine with that for Liberty. Again, that's where I can understand why the margin of Liberty by 1.5 to 2 is reasonable, because let's just say the 3-point shot isn't falling for the Flames on the road. If they can ugly it up and muck it up, I at least like that, because it shows some level of tactical adjustment for the Flames. And frankly, that's probably what you're going to have to do anyway, is get comfortable being uncomfortable Saturday in particular at Jacksonville State.
Yeah, I think they need to find more ways to get J.J. Harper involved. I think he's proven to be the middleman when the big three are struggling.
Yeah, and the other one is, what do you get out of Brett Decker Jr.?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have sung his praises, leading scorer statistically for Liberty. And again, if I'm going to say, and I don't dispute this, that he's a guy that's probably going to draw some big time interest, and it's going to be hard for Liberty to keep him around this offseason because of his financial value, if you will. Well, if you're in that stratosphere, it's also, again, to whom more might be given financially, more expectations should also be given, which is you have to be the one that steps up, and nobody's disputing the skill set of Porter, Matheny, and Cleveland. But the most raw athletically gifted of the Flames in terms of shot creator and points creator, I get you could say Zach Cleveland, but the difference is if you foul Cleveland, it's probably 1 of 2 from the line, and hack-a-zack is something you can employ. It's not nearly as effective for Brent Decker. I'm not saying decker. We got to be careful. Jack State, New Mexico State in particular might take that literally. So we're not endorsing that. But if I'm looking at the 3-point shot plus the mid-range jumper plus off the dribble plus free throws, offensive creator, all of it, I think Decker has that. I want to see that for Liberty is the ability if Porter, Cleveland, and Matheny are off, can you get that? Can you get some type of go-to clutch performer? And we've seen a bunch of Flames step up. If one of them's been off, Porter stepped up at times. Decker has. It's been Matheny. We know can go off from 3. Zach Cleveland can have big nights like against New Mexico State, including the game winner that he hit in that one. But for the Flames, ideally, you want to have at least 2 of them on. And if you need one of them on, then can that one go off for a super hot type performance where it's 25 plus points? That's what I'd like to see out of the Flames, because I do think it's going to be a tight game tonight at Kennesaw State.
You got to rebound that. You have to.
No doubt about it. When we return to the Fast Lane, we'll get to Bob Alvis, high school hoops. We'll get into the weeds on that in the back half. But in the Fast 5 at 5-ish, we have some breaking news about somebody who is still blocking us on Twitter for an inexplicable reason. This just came down in the last hour, so we can't resist. I know. Take the high road for this guy, maybe pun intended with the high part if you dig into this person's history. We'll explain when we return here in the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app and VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. A cool food concept sparks curiosity. What about 2 concepts at one restaurant? That's even better. Alvis on Rivermont is Lynchburg's first multi-concept restaurant. Pick items from the traditional Alvis menu, the 801 Raw Bar menu, or mix and match. And you'll appreciate the consistency of Alvis' new kitchen and serving staff. 2 cool concepts in one. Only available at Alvis on Rivermont.
Hey, Hokie fans, are you still getting your Hokie sports news from other outlets, or even worse, the newspaper? Well, you're missing out. Tech Sideline has assembled the largest and most talented team to ever cover Virginia Tech athletics. If you want Hokie sports coverage that is second to none and will make you the smartest fan at the tailgate, subscribe to TechSideline.com for just $12 a month or $120 a year. Tech Sideline, all Hokie, all the time, period. Subscribe today at TechSideline.com.
Looking for everything happening in and around Central Virginia that used to be in the morning paper? Start your day at the LynchburgPortal.com. Get the latest news updates from Bill Trevero, plus up-to-date weather from VTRN's own in-house meteorologist, Matt Ferguson. So you're always in the know before you head out the door. Want to listen on the go? Stream classic hits on Rewind 103.9. Get breaking local news on WIQO, or catch the best sports talk and play-by-play on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, all right from the portal. Looking to save? Check out insane radio deals for great local discounts, or explore local podcasts featuring the voices and stories that make our community special. Plus, connect with local businesses through the Lynchburg Business Alliance directory and stay in the loop on the latest events from Lynchburg Tourism. It's all right here. Local news, weather, sports, deals, and more at the LynchburgPortal.com. Your gateway to everything Lynchburg.
Check out every game of March Madness on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker and stream on the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Boy, it's amazing what Google can reveal. We will explain in the humor of it from the person who is still blocking us at Fast Lane Ed Lane on Twitter right now in the Fast 5 at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast 5 at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
The jokes just write themselves. According to, I'm not making this up, Brandon Cristal, which is a high-end champagne, Cristal is. Brandon Cristal of Denver Sports. Warren Sapp, our guy in the Fast Lane, will not return for his 4th season as the coach of the Colorado Buffaloes defensive pass rush, as he is still blocking us on Twitter. I did look it up, and Warren Sapp is still blocking us, even though he will not be coaching Colorado reportedly this coming season, which might add some intrigue to the questions about Warren Sapp. First of all, we could take the high road. The pun intended part is because, of course, he reportedly tested positive for marijuana before the NFL Combine. And when you Google the name Warren Sapp, what else but the two questions that come up of the four for Warren Sapp are, how many baby mamas does Warren Sapp have? That's a good one. And an even better one is, why did Warren Sapp lose his money? Could we add to the why did he lose his money answer that he has now lost his job, apparently, as the Colorado Buffaloes defensive pass game coordinator? If you would like to converse with us on that, we can start, Mr. Sapp, by unblocking Fastlane Ed Lane on the Twitter handle. And yes, taking the high road is not something that I was able to do today, although maybe I should pray more for that. But we will shift over from that to more normal topics here in number 4. Anthony Richardson has informed the Indianapolis Colts that he has requested a trade. Is this the classic case of, I'm breaking up with you because you knew she's calling to meet with you and she's going to break up with you? Like, is that what this is? Because in what world were the Colts prepared to hold on to Anthony Richardson, who had lost his job to Daniel Jones, and his cap number is only going to escalate?
Yeah, he lost his job twice, once to Carson Wentz and then Daniel Jones. And I got a feeling the Colts are going to try and maintain Jones while drafting another young quarterback. So I don't blame Anthony Richardson for being like, let's see what other pastures have to offer.
Yes, it definitely is. I am super intrigued when it comes to what might happen with Anthony Richardson, but that's the type of guy that needs to go to a Sean McVay, a Kevin O'Connell, some type of QB whisperer, because he's the quarterback who had all the physical skills coming out of Florida, but never put it together. And people were wondering whether he was going to be like the NBA example, the guy who's drafted high base, totally on upside, that has proven nothing. There's no actual production that's ever been there. And could that work? And maybe in basketball it can, but in football where it's schematic anyway, and you have to show you can fit into a puzzle, if you've never shown that, even if you have the traits, it really doesn't matter. There are a lot of examples of players who just don't have what it takes to put it together. And I'm not ready to totally write off Anthony Richardson, but it's clear the guy was way more raw than what Shane Steichen and the Colts were able to do to get the most out of him. Meanwhile, number 3, speaking of quarterbacks, Chandler Morris is suing the NCAA for a 7th season of eligibility. Look, all right, I get it that, if you can get extra eligibility, go for it. Because to me, Chandler Morris does not scream, can't miss NFL draft prospect. I remember being with him, interviewed him at the ACC football kickoff months ago. If you really care to go way back into our Fast Lane Ed Lane archives, because yes, we still right there, being of Coach Prime in Colorado, by the way, you can go back and listen to it. But he was not all that well built. And, his Houdini style play did wonders for him and for Virginia this year. And you've got to tip your cap because he produced at a higher level at quarterback than the Who's had gotten since maybe Brennan Armstrong, second to last year on grounds. His last year with the famed Robert and I was, not very good. But certainly the Bryce Perkins era, when Perkins helped Virginia make it to the ACC championship game. They also lost that, but understandably when Clemson was good. And they went to the Orange Bowl, Virginia did, that season. Chandler Morris has performed well, but at what point is enough enough? And here's the thing. If I'm a Virginia fan, I am not rushing to defend Chandler Morris because it sure seems like, TJ, that they prepared that it was a long shot he'd be eligible. And even if Morris is eligible, would he pull the irony of ironies and go to Clemson, which has been unwilling to embrace transfers for the most part, but yet where Chandler's dad is the offensive coordinator?
There's a lot of people that think that, just from what I heard in the UVA room.
I wouldn't be shocked about that at all. And so it's a very, to me, reasonable question for the Who's and for Chandler Morris. Just at what point is enough enough? Like, I get, we don't count JUCO years. I get legitimate medical redshirt years. But some of this is just looking through loopholes and trying to find a way. And again, if he came back and he helped Virginia, God bless him, he'd be a great pickup for Virginia at quarterback. Chandler Morris would. I get it. They've already spent all their money. Everyone knows there's workarounds when it comes to how much you're actually spending on the roster. But I'm not going to be upset if Morris can't come back to Virginia. And if I'm a Wahoo fan, I probably have already gotten inside my head that it's unlikely to happen anyway. Speaking of Virginia football and the people that probably wrap their mind around it,
Number 2.
the Virginia football program has announced that Tyler Clater is the new director of college scouting for the Virginia Cavaliers. Let's pause right there. Virginia has a director of college scouting. Do you think this guy is just looking at guys the moment they enter the transfer portal? And then the moment the portal closes, he's not looking at anybody? Of course not. And it's not that way at Virginia or anywhere else. This is how big-time college sports are run. They're always scouting players off of other rosters to see, I'll use air quotes here, if the player would enter the transfer portal. And the other thing about Virginia, and again, if I'm a Virginia fan, I'm actually encouraged by this because other programs are doing this. They have large-scale front offices. Virginia now has Tyler Clater as the scouting director, college scouting director. The director of high school scouting is David Hernandez, and Tucker Mace is elevated to, I'm not making this up, defensive recruiting coordinator for Virginia. They now have a front office that has, as LeBron James would like to attribute,
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
they have 10 members of their front office. 10! TJ, you don't have that robust of a front office at Virginia if you're not playing the game. But I'll tip my cap. They spin on basketball. It's paid off. Ryan Odom looks like he knew exactly what he was doing and how he constructed his well-financed roster. Virginia football was well-financed this past year. Laugh about the weak schedule they had. It delivered results.
Yeah.
This is what you have to do in modern college football. And I'll at least grant it to Virginia that they're playing the game because if they want to keep up with Virginia Tech, who obviously they would have gotten James Franklin if they weren't going to do it.
Yeah. Miami's
obviously set the bar on that. We know about their long history of tampering. Ask West Virginia fans in your life because they know of certain players, Akeem Mesidor, Daryl Porter Jr., who were former Mountaineers that wound up at Miami well before it became common. Look, this is what it takes. If I'm a Virginia fan, we can laugh and make fun of it, but this is the smart thing they should be doing with their front office.
They got a strong front office. They're really building to be a football school, as they were many.
No doubt. Speaking of, by the way, the Virginia Cavaliers and front offices,
Number 1.
the Lakers have hired former Virginia coach Tony Bennett as an NBA draft advisor under Rob Pelinka. You're clapping for this. Why,
Yeah,
TJ?
it's perfect. I think they need a perspective on someone that has been on the level with college players, that knows college players. This is a beautiful hire. Tony Bennett, it's so funny because everyone just felt like Tony was just going to chill at home and do nothing of the sort. And now he's coming out and do this. I love this.
You know, I think it's great because, I mean, look, even Tony Bennett, these coaches can't sit still forever. They can't sit still forever. No, it allows him to be in the game. I don't know if Tony Bennett has the personality to actually be a head coach in the NBA or modern college basketball because just the dynamic and the ability to import your system. But people clearly respect Tony Bennett, obviously, as a character, first and foremost. And as a fellow Christian, along with Tony Bennett, I admire that as well. But people respect his basketball acumen. There is still a level of respect when it comes to that. All jokes about Virginia's pace of play this year versus last year and the Tony Bennett era aside, Tony Bennett, one of his strengths was finding a way to see how you could maximize the potential of a player. He knew how to develop certain players. DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, and Kyle Guy were 4 stars, but they exceeded what their probably natural athleticism was. I don't think anybody would have expected DeAndre Hunter to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. He was that. Jerome and Guy have been in the NBA. Jerome is still around. Guy, not so much. But he developed other players. Some of them were your 4 or 5 star type calibers, Justin Anderson, DeAndre Hunter, as we mentioned, but some of them are other guys. Ryan Dunn, Reese Beekman, those type of players. And he knows how to identify those and understand the character. He's a very good judge of character. If I'm the Lakers, I think it's a great move. And because at some point, you're going to have to build in the post-LeBron James era, maybe sooner than later as well. And it's going to be the Luka Doncic era. How can you surround it and understand you're not moving Doncic around? They're not the Mavericks. But what are you going to do with that? I think it's a brilliant move for the Lakers and Tony Bennett. And look, it's a special draft advisor, which means there's a lot of elbow room and wiggle room for Bennett to take on other roles. Again, I've said this before, not that Richie McKay is itching to leave Liberty. I think as long as he wants to be at Liberty, he'll be there. But I think McKay would easily welcome a role for Tony Bennett because obviously they're super tight and have the connection. Yeah. But I think plenty of people could see that type of scenario unfold, and having the advice of someone of his acumen is a smart thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because they've been hitting this in the past. So Tony Bennett being there, who knows how to evaluate players even more.
No doubt. It definitely is. Meanwhile, as we wrap up the Fast Five at 5-ish, just to get a little bit into the weeds before Bob Alvis joins us in the fast lane. But if you need to get into the weeds on your budget, which you should be doing, you might look at the fact that money goes out quickly. So how do you keep more of it? You go to InsaneRadioDeals.com and enter the promo code FROZEN at checkout. Frozen temperatures, 32 degrees or below 32 degrees. How do you judge it at InsaneRadioDeals.com? Enter the promo code FROZEN at checkout for 32% off the list price now through 3/2, March 2nd. We're less than a week away from the sale ending, so get the items now before they go at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Now, speaking of food, appetizers, all of that, it's a theme as we get into the weeds.
The haters say we get into the weeds. They may even say we get into the weed.
Smoke weed every day.
Nah, we love getting into the weeds to discuss some cool sports details here in the Fast Lane.
So, again, I will try not to hurt my arm patting us on the back in the fast lane. But first of all, we've talked about how loaded high school basketball is in the area. If you're following it, which you should be doing at newsadvance.com with our man Bryson Gordon, that guy is putting in mad work. Jokes aside about BG, he's putting in a ton of good work. He was at the Glass GW game last night. He's got great write-ups on LCA's victory against Wilson Memorial last night. Nelson County beating top seed Liberty in the region semifinals. So it's Nelson who has clinched their spot. Liberty season comes to an end. There's more on that with Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast in about 5 minutes in the fast lane. But all of that really says is this is an awesome lead-in to March Madness. I know we're at the tail end of February, not actually in March, and people think college basketball for March Madness as they should. But this is fantastic. Like, we've gotten a lot of really good basketball action. And yes, some teams, Gretna boys, after their upset of Martinsville, didn't make it to the regional final. They lost to Floyd. So it'll be Floyd and Nelson tomorrow in Franklin County. And LCA girls, probably the biggest surprise of all, they also fell. But the action's been really good. Glass has lived up to the moniker of being a top team in the region, punching their ticket to the VHSL Class 4 state tournament. They'll have a home game tomorrow. LCA, that's a big breakthrough for Matt Klein's team. Winning a playoff game is one thing, but now getting over the hump and getting to the regional final, which clinches a berth in the state quarterfinals, even if they lose in the regional final and lose in the state quarters, it's a building block thing that LCA and Matt Klein can go, look, they are continuing on the upward trajectory. But when you look at teams in the area, I know we've touched on this a lot, but the thing about Nelson County is they've got so many different ways that they can beat you. They've got Colton Ward. They've got Bryce Giles, who, from the looks of it, you look at the guy playing, you're like, I don't know if this guy can shoot from outside. Dude, he's got a mad pull-up game. He can cut off the dribble. He's obviously thick and big enough to beat you down low. And you add into that with Colton Ward, this is a really good team. And Liberty had no answers for them. Those two turned in a big game against Liberty last night. And by the way, tip your cap to the Liberty Minutemen. They went out and played after the tragic, heart attack and passing of John McSweeney a couple of weeks ago. They easily could have said it's too much to overcome. I know their season ends short of a state playoff. I know it was emphatic last night, but two things to note. Number one, you lost to a really good Nelson County team. Like, that team can beat you in a lot of ways. And part of why, I kind of talked up Nelson a lot and the Governors is because I think when you get into postseason play, if you can beat teams a multitude of ways, it's so big. LCA boys, Glass boys, Nelson boys, I think it's one of the common threads that they have shown, TJ, is the ability to win in multiple ways in March. Because if a team you're playing is good, they're probably going to be able to take some things away. So you're going to have to go to your second and third optional on a given night, and maybe your second and third strength to dig in and find a way to win. And if you're a well-coached team, we know about Nelson. We touched on them a moment ago. DJ Best at Glass has proven himself. Klein at LCA. And there are others that are out there too, but that's such a key cog. And I think that's what we've seen right now is, there are a lot of good teams that made the playoffs. But then there's the cream that are rising, and that's what you're seeing right now, I think, to a large extent in high school basketball action.
Yeah, and I think Bob Alvis, who's waiting in the green room for us for the next segment, I think he may agree. If you have a great big man like Nelson County has, you're going to have a really good team.
Because in high school, there's just not that many players that are 6'7", 6'8".
Exactly.
I know I had to get the 6'7" joke in there. Just bear with me on that.
Yeah.
But they're not that tall. And so when you've got that in the size of Nelson, like they can get physical, but there's athleticism to that as well. And a lot of teams just haven't seen that. And then for Glass, I tip my cap to Glass and LCA. I think playing each other is the iron sharpening iron principle, because I think it was a drop off from the two of them to the rest of the Seminole District. And Liberty was good, but we know they're a unique situation this year. I put Liberty in that category as well. But after those three, there was a bit of a drop off. I know, teams like Amherst and Rustburg and JF could creep up at times, but there just wasn't that level of consistency that you would have found. Heritage too.
I just wish it stinks that they're in two different regions. I would love to see Glass and Nelson County face off.
Oh, it'd be phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if Matt Klein would like to see it, but I think everybody else would. It would make, he might not, but we would. So when we return in the fast lane, maybe get to some hypotheticals, but is this a good precursor to March Madness? Confirmation bias, or Bob Alvis might go the old hair gel
Rejected.
And reject our theory. That when we return here in the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, newer, older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on the Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
At the Farmers Bank of Appomattox, we believe personal banking should be as rooted in the community as you are. Whether managing your business banking, saving for your family's dream home, or juggling daily expenses with our mobile app, we offer tailored solutions with a local touch. Experience the security of a bank that knows your name and the convenience of modern technology. Visit us today to grow your financial future right here at home. The Farmers Bank of Appomattox, your community, your bank, your future.
Hi, I'm Susan Lane, Ed's mom. March Madness brings lots of picks, but I have only one, Bartlett Tree Experts. I rely on Bartlett to professionally assess my oaks and boxwoods and to prepare a maintenance plan within my budget. Call Corey, a certified arborist, at Bartlett Tree Experts, or go to bartlett.com.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics to Coney Island, Betty Bop, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share it and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Do's.
Are you tired of static? Wish you could take your favorite Virginia radio stations with you wherever you go? Then you need to discover the power of streaming. That's right. You can now easily listen to the Virginia Talk Radio Network for insightful discussions and local news.
From the VTRN News Center, I'm Bill Trefiro.
And groove to classic hits on Rewind 1039. All from your smartphone, tablet, or computer. No more fiddling with the dial. Just download your favorite radio app, search for Virginia Talk Radio Network or Rewind 1039, and you're ready to go. Stay connected with your community.
Good morning. This is Kimberly McBroom in the WDBJ 7 Newsroom with our Virginia Talk Radio Network News Update.
And enjoy the music you love anytime, anywhere.
Every move you make.
Streaming the Virginia Talk Radio Network and Rewind 1039. It's that easy. Virginia Talk Radio Network. Rewind 1039. Now streaming.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
I don't know, Bob. I don't know. I don't know, TJ, is what I should actually say. We had some fun with the Warren Sapp comments. I just, like, why? Like, I can't, it still blows my mind. He blocked us on Twitter. Like, if you need proof of it, I'll be glad to. Just let us know. We can put the photo up at Fastlane Ed Lane on the social media platforms. After our chat today, though, who knows? Bob Alvis might be blocking us on social media. I pray that's not the case. Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast is with us here in the Fast Lane. Bob, hopefully you don't block us like the Nelson County Governors, EC Glass Hilltoppers, and LCA boys basketball teams are blocking out the distractions and the shots as they have clinched state tournament berths by reaching the regional finals.
I'm always concerned that you'll block me, but I got to say, going into the break, when you said, well, you see if Bob Alvis goes the old hair gel route, that's the only time I've ever been compared to hair gel in my life.
Well, that's the old commercial. It was, I think it was Walt Frazier and Keith Hernandez who were on that. And they're doing the hair gel, and the guy with the
Well,
gray
I think it's
beard.
the dye. It's the dye for the beards.
Yes, you're right. It's the beard gel. But it was
dye.
I mean,
Dye,
I'm not
coloring.
mentioning yes, the coloring of the beard. Thank you. And the guy with the gray beard goes in and he gets rejected because he has the gray beard. So that's the origin of that. And it's so if you know anything about me, Bob, you probably figure this out. I like ridiculous, cheesy, over the top stuff and just can't help myself.
The guy with the gray beard being rejected. That's happened a time or two.
Oh, I've been rejected plenty of times. I'm not just talking sales either. So I'll take it when I can. But Bob, pivoting away from that, we got way sidetracked here in the Fast Lane. And this may have been true in prior years, but does it even feel more like it this year? High school basketball, it is a great entree, great appetizer to the entree that is March Madness.
I would agree. And I think one thing that you and TJ kind of were touching on is I think it's a lot similar because in high school basketball, if you have a great big and if you have good guard play, not necessarily a good point guard, I think you're okay. I'll be honest with you. I love Matt Klein to death. I love Teron Watson at Nelson. I love DJ Best at EC Glass, and I love a lot of other people. But they will tell you to a man, if you don't have the Jimmys and Joes, they can draw up all the X's and O's they want, but it ain't gonna provide fruition. And I do speak proper English, by the way. But it's just not going to get you to that state title berth because you've got to have the horses.
So we can touch on all of those because, I mean, look, the talent's been there, and then finding a way to get them balled in. I mean, that's a real credit. Ball in, be all in has kind of been the dual slogan, if you will, for the Hilltoppers this year, but they played that way. Are you surprised at all that it's not just Glass winning, but they're not winning by huge margins, but they're getting double-digit wins in the playoffs, and it looks like they're not at all fazed by the pressure moments?
No, I think EC Glass is very comfortable by being the hunter and the hunted all in one because they do have a target on their back. I mean, that's just obvious. But I think they also chase victories. And I think what helped them just as much as, I heard you guys talking about the LCA games. Don't get me wrong, I think those help. But I think the non-season traveling to camps when they played the upper competition really helped as well. And I think DJ Best will credit that as well for helping this EC Glass team. They have Hanley tomorrow, and Hanley and EC Glass, I want to say, played 2 or 3 years ago in a state quarter at Heritage, and Hanley lost. And I don't think they've forgotten that. I know Coach Zook has not. So we'll see how that goes, but I think it should be a very fun game. And I'll tell you what, this is very important for EC Glass and for Hanley because if you lose, you're traveling to Region C. And that is the Loudoun County area of the world. And to be honest with you, I'm not crazy about making that trip from Lynchburg to play a basketball game to where I have to win.
No, look, we've made that trek up to John Hanley. That was probably the deepest we made, but Bob was our statistician when the coach Rick Kennedy and I all went up for Jefferson Forest Cavalier football at John Hanley in the state playoffs. And JF won, but it's such a challenge when you have to make those long bus trips, which does bring the question for Friday night's game over at EC Glass. If you're the Hilltoppers, is there maybe an added desire to try to start this game quick to see where Hanley is? Because oftentimes that sluggish start can befits a team which is making a long trip.
Yeah, Gretna really got into a sluggish start last night. And to further comment on what you just said, it's hard to rebound off a sluggish start. I think Floyd County scored the first 16, 18 points last night. And that's just a hard mountain to climb back from, because you almost have to win each quarter after that. And you have to win it by probably, by more than 6 points. So that's a tough hill to climb. I think a good start helps EC Glass, but I think an even better finish helps the Hilltoppers. And like I said, you want to get that home game. I don't know if I would say it's a team of destiny, but it really feels EC Glass has got all the pieces clicking. The only thing I get even remotely concerned about is if they run up against a team with big guards. And other people will say, we've got that taken care of. DJ Best, his assistant, Jeremy Anderson, we're okay with that. But as Joe fan, I get concerned if I see a team with big guards that can handle, move, and score.
Yeah, that's a great point about the Hilltoppers, and we'll have a chance to dissect their outlook and look at how things progress with the state tournament, because they are in, having made the regional final. They'll host John Hanley tomorrow, and a win would be a much bigger deal for them. De facto home game against John Hanley. Meanwhile, you mentioned Region 4. We're kind of going to go drop down from Region 4 now to Region 3. If you're LCA, you'd love to win the Class 3 region, or would love to win your region and set yourself up for a better state semifinal matchup. Is this an upward step, though? Year 2, you're seeing the progression for Matt Klein's Bulldogs.
This is a team that I could argue should have been out in the first game. I mean, they got a foul called with 0.4 seconds left against Rustburg. Tomlin knocks down one of two, missed the second one intentionally. Rustburg had a Hail Mary that couldn't go. Then they go up to Wilson Memorial, get the W, and now they're playing against a Western Albemarle team that they have split with over the regular season. I mean, I think LCA is in a good boat. And even more, if you lose that game against Western Albemarle, barring that Abingdon does not win the region, you're probably looking at a trip to like either Hidden Valley, Christiansburg, or William Byrd, which is much more doable than a trip to Northern Virginia or far southwest.
Oh, by far. I mean, a relatively short bus ride, an hour and change away, beats one of these where you're talking 2+ hours. And that's kind of been the line of demarcation for a lot of coaches, is if you have to go that much further around. We'll touch on it as well for boys basketball, and then we'll get a couple girls basketball thoughts also. But Nelson County, they beat Liberty. First of all, the Nelson County angle to this, are they the team that you kind of got the feeling they could beat you in the most ways, and if it could all click, you could get what you saw last night, which is a really emphatic Governor's victory?
I hate to anoint off one game because this is the only time I've seen the Governors this year, but Bryce Giles looked like he's the most improved player and the best player I've seen. Colton Ward is dynamic in the post. And if you've got to get big guy in the post, let's not go college or pro. Keep him in the post and let him dominate there. But Ward can go Euro. I call it going Euro when you can shoot the three and pop out. Ward can do that too. It's going to be a matchup problem for people because I don't think at the single A level you're going to be able to equal that size. Now, you'll find a diamond in the rough here and there, but then you've got to match up with Giles outside too. So you're going to have to find another guard. And if you go a smaller, quicker guard, that's great. But now you're going to give up some height.
Am I off base in this observation with Bob Alvis of the Sports Buffet podcast? Bryce Giles is the type of guy where you're daring him to take the outside shot, and then he's going to keep singing him. You're like, oh, maybe that was a bad idea.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is pick your poison. Do you want Giles to score 30 or do you want Ward to score 30? If Giles scores 30, Ward's not getting 10. I mean, that's the way I'm going to subscribe to it if I'm an opposing coach. And if Ward's going to get 30, well, then Giles is not getting 10. So I've got to pick one or the other, because if you let them both go off and say, all right, well, nobody else is getting anything, well, they could have 60. between the two of them.
Yeah. I mean, you could. That's what's crazy is it literally is a pick your poison.
Yeah.
The other side to that performance, by the way, and we can touch on these teams as well. We'll get deeper into Liberty boys basketball in a moment, but how proud should they be of themselves? There's no shame in losing to a really good Nelson County team. And they easily could have said, no, we're not going to go forward this season. They fought as much as you could expect a team to fight, and they deserve a big hat tip for the way the Minutemen boys basketball team came back through the passing of John McSweeney.
Yeah, you had McSweeney with you essentially for the first half. So when you went through the district the second time, for the most part, that's when you were seeing Coach Mason at the helm. And, that's a no-win situation, I think, for anybody because you're the guy, but you're not the guy that started with. I'd rather almost be the guy that started the season and have to carry on than be the fill-in guy. But I thought Liberty did remarkable to get there. Has the number 1 seed, keep in mind. I thought they did really well, but, they just ran into a very, very good club, which often happens in regionals and states.
Pivoting to the other side in girls basketball, the LCA girls fall in region semifinal action. They had a phenomenal season. How often is it that sometimes you just have one of those nights and it's at the wrong time?
I went and watched them play earlier in the week, and last night they played Western Albemarle. And, LCA is a dynamic shooting team, especially from the outside with Rivard, Redgate, and so on and so forth. But it scares me when you're an outside shooting team because if somebody else has just one post player or can get inside, and I'm not saying LCA couldn't, but I don't think they got in with the frequency as much as they would like to. And I think that can sometimes spell doom.
Yeah, and it did. I mean, look, and those are the type of things that happen. And now Paul Redgate's going to reassess that in the offseason. The other girls basketball, Liberty girls basketball, deserving hat tip, right? I mean, look, everybody's wondering how they were going to handle it, and they picked up a win in rather convincing fashion. And once again, here we are, Liberty girls basketball, deep regional and a state championship run.
They're going to have Chatham on Friday for the regional titles. Both are in the state. Chatham only plays with 7 people, but one of their players is really, really good, Jakayla Jiggets. The whole team is good, but you're only playing with 7. And I think the key comes down to how can Liberty handle the pressure, and then can they contain Jiggets from not going off for 30 herself?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answers will come as we get to watch the action unfold. Bob Alvis has provided us all the perspective today in the Sports with A podcast. Bob, we appreciate your time. And for those wondering about football coaching changes, look, we got a long time to get into all of that. We're riding the high school hoops action and the other high school sports. And we'll probably even touch on a lot of it in the spring. Because once we get to summer, let's keep it real. At that point, everybody will be shifting their attention to the gridiron anyway.
No play for Mr. Gray.
Yes, my man, Bob Alvis, who did not say that we are rejected from our next appearance and chat with him in the fast lane. Bob, we'll keep it locked to the Sports with A podcast, and we thank you for your time today. Bob Alvis with us here in the fast lane. That does it for us today on W227BG Timberlake, WVGM Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna Danville Southside, Michigan State, Purdue, and basketball coming up in a little over an hour tonight on the VTR and Sports app. In the meantime, on to Freddie and Harry in progress.
We didn't do a lot with them yesterday. We started our North Carolina preparation, and then big prep day today and tomorrow before heading down tomorrow afternoon to Chapel Hill.